Spirit by our side, to aid us with its watchful power. Throughout all our lives, dear William and Mary, we pledge our loyalty. To college now and evermore, thy children cry all entry. Beneath thy trees, within thy halls, dear college, we give praise to thee. To pledge ourselves whatever befalls, to pledge unfailing loyalty. Our hearts are with thee, dear William and Mary, however far we stray. Our noble college, hear us now, thy children sing to thee today. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, choir. Good evening, everybody. Please be seated. Transfer students, graduate students, and the class of 2028. Are you ready for university life? All right, that was a little muted, I think, but let's see what we can do. This evening marks the official beginning of the academic year. As always at William & Mary, we do this with fanfare and with flair and with a lot of noise. So class of 2028, are you ready for college? All right, that sounds good. Now, some of you may be new to Williamsburg, but you know that not last. This balmy evening, give way to gorgeous, cool, long fall, and you'll be really, really happy. Weather that long as you can. But I will say that we have water stations by the Brafton there, and Tucker Hall's no problem. Jump up and row. We begin convocation William and Mary's. All of our Virginia's Indian tribe recognized by and 4 years ago, those worked together my leadership craft so that it welcomes, acknowledge them in the words that matter to them, describing 300 shared history. We're continuing to discover everything that about that history come together. So please welcome Oda Kinsel, class of 6, President of the American.
Join me in acknowledging and paying respect to Indigenous inhabitants Eastern Hakanadawe, Kahamani, East Kahamani, Matap, Monacan, and Nottaway, Monk, Patawomic, Upper Mattaponi, and Rappahannock. They are their tribal members as
Thank you, Madam President. I want to welcome many official visitors here. Wave to the crowd. Joining us this evening are members of William and Mary's visitors, led by our rector, Charles Post. Williamsburg Mayor Doug Pons, council members, other public officials. Give a wave. Bruce Jacobson, our first gentleman, and my dad. Faculty and staff, please stand and wave so we can tell you how awesome you are. Among our new students are many military and veteran students on active hired, but all military, but anyone who is serving now or students in class come from all across all of our church, represent 30 different. Think a lot about how to set up this fall, how we're and set expectations. So I'm going to start with a person from sport first college. Maybe you've heard of the players. Hey, admissions is doing good work. Okay, so those of you who know the sport know that sport self-reference at the highest level, players call their every player, according to the is required to know the rules of the game, hold themselves to those for that. That rule is called the spirit of the game. Because of the spirit of the game that I throw a frisbee, start and see it, graduate. You're really, really lucky. So here's the rule, the spirit of the game. Quote, highly competitive play is encouraged, but never at adherence to non rules, or adherence to agreed upon rules, or basically, got that? Highly, but never. That is what we are about, calling us to the moment, calling ourselves in the moment. Anybody think it could be a hot fall? Not weather-wise. It could be, but at William & Mary, we followed our. We are here for basic study, light community, learning together, and we're committed to about that every day. The phrase that I used many this summer earlier was the wonderful phrase from the philosopher Hannah Arendt, who calls us all to think what we are doing. Simple, think. That's the work of using your mind, using it in company with others, using it together, because it's learning from each other that we're here for, and doing, because we think in order to act ethically, again, in community. Think, study, reflect, learn. Those words, think what we are doing, are Hannah Arendt's antidote to chaos, to conflict, to civil strife, to authoritarianism. At William & Mary, belonging is our first value for that reason. And these are powerful forms of action, even though they feel like they're just happening in your head, to advance liberty for all of us. So, what that means in practice is know that we are second-day responders. Give yourself grace to be second-day responders, to find out more, to ask questions. We debate fiercely, and we hold space open for that debate because we recognize that honorable people may deeply disagree with each other, and that's in those disagreements that we grow in understanding. At William & Mary, we do not dox each other. At William & Mary, we do not cancel each other. At William & Mary, we think for ourselves and we take incredibly seriously the charge to be curious and come to our own conclusions based on evidence. William & Mary students do not like to be told what to think, and that is something that we honor and are deeply proud of. We know that if something on social media sounds incredibly improbable, it's probably not true. We know that the franchise voting is something that our forefathers and mothers fought for, and we vote. Over 90% of our campus voted in the last election in 2020. We're going to top that this fall, right? We are. And we do that because that is an action that exercises that thinking process, not necessarily agreement. I don't expect this campus will vote the same way, but it is an action that exercises the right to liberty. Democracy in this pluralistic republic is in our DNA at the alma mater of the nation. We build on that legacy together, and all of us have a chance to leave this university better than we found it by doing this together. That is how we compete together. That is how we win together. That is our spirit of the game. So, officially, you guys ready? Somebody want to catch it? How about on this side? I think over there. Yeah, that's where the ultimate players are. Yeah! Okay, nice catch. All right, go long, everybody. And please welcome, as loudly as you can, our Provost, Peggy Agoras.
Thank you, President Rowe, and welcome, William & Mary class of 2028. I am so happy to be here to officially welcome you to the start of our academic year. I know I'm telling you things you already know, but it gives me great pleasure to repeat them. So I know that you have worked extremely hard to be here, to get to this point. And now that you're here, there are so many exciting opportunities ahead of you. I want to return for a moment to what President Rowe mentioned in her remarks on the challenge of this moment. As William & Mary reflects on our role as the alma mater of the nation, we found ourselves once more at the forefront of addressing the most pressing issues of our time. As I'm saying this, I'm reminded of the words of Aristotle, my fellow Greek, on the nature of democracy. If liberty and equality, as some persons suppose, are chiefly to be found in a democracy, they will be attained when all persons alike share in the government to the utmost. Let's take a moment to reflect on what it might mean to share in the utmost. To me, there's an obvious connection to being present, to participating, to voting. And as you heard from President Rowe, we're very proud of our student voting record here. And I think she's right. We can make it even higher this season. But beyond elections, I encourage you to share in the utmost when it comes to your education at William & Mary. All of you likely had many options for higher education available to you, but you chose William & Mary for a reason. We have 115 academic majors and minors. We have over 450 student-run clubs and organizations, more than 30 multicultural student organizations, 45 club sports, 18 intramural activities, and more than 35 religious organizations, and more than 50 wellness and fitness classes per week. I know, I checked these numbers this morning. So get involved, share in the utmost, see what sparks your interest, and don't be afraid to encounter new experiences. There's a wealth of knowledge and collaboration here that you're now part of. Share in the utmost, because our ability to affect change begins on campus. I know I sound like a mother giving you advice, but believe me, there are certain words that will stay with you throughout your studies and beyond. Today, you begin an academic journey that will challenge you, one that will deepen your connections, one that will evolve in ways you can't yet know. I'm honored to officially welcome you to the start of your William and Mary education. And I want to repeat once again, we're so glad you're here.
Thank you, Madam Provost. Matthew Wong, President of the Class of 25, please join me at the podium for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Rowe. Each year, the sophomore, junior, and senior class presidents welcome first-year students by presenting a class banner. Transfer students or graduate students, your banners are already hanging in Sadler. In a moment, Zoe Wong and Nico Giro Martin, presidents of the junior and sophomore year, will unfurl the Class of 2028 banner. We hope it symbolizes belonging in your class throughout your years here and in the years that follow as you become alumni of William and Mary. The banner will remain here for a week and then will be moved to the Sadler Center into your commencement. Since the Class of 2028 has not yet elected representatives, President Rowe, please accept this banner on their behalf.
Mr. President, I proudly accept this banner on behalf of the awesome Class of 2028. Unveil the banner! Our speaker this evening knows something about being a student in extraordinary times. Dr. Cleve Francis earned his master's degree at William & Mary in the late 1960s. He pursued cardiology and music, classic William & Mary ampersand, a Renaissance man. Dr. Francis founded Mount Vernon Cardiology Associates in Northern Virginia, and in 1995, he formed the Black Country Music Association. There's so many ways that you can listen to his music, and you should get out there and do that. We are so honored to host Dr. Francis, his wife Hardeep, and many Williamsburg area friends during our Year of the Arts. Please welcome Dr. Francis.
Good evening. Thank you, President Rowe, for that introduction and for inviting me to be part of this momentous occasion. Because of the heat and everything, I'll try to keep my remarks short because I understand two magic words audience look forward to hearing. I'm done. I'm delighted and deeply honored to be back on this beautiful and historic campus with all of you who are just beginning your academic journey. You enter this place with talents, skills, and experiences that will enhance the symphony of life here at William & Mary. I invoke the word symphony not only because we're celebrating the Year of the Arts, but because the art of music was such an important part of my time as a student here. From a very young age, music formed the central focus of my life, but it wasn't the reason I came to William & Mary. I enrolled in the biology department's graduate program for study for a career in medicine. I studied with Professor Garnet Jack Brooks and conducted research to determine the evolutionary function of the third eye of a small southwestern fence lizard. How's that for a research project? We found out what it was used for. Through science and music, I found my place and my voice in this community. For me, finding my place was no small thing. I'd come from Southern University, the historically black institution in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Southern, 10,000 on campus looked like me, but at William and Mary in 1967, I was one of only 7 black students on this campus. And maybe some of you today have some of the same worries that I had back then. You might wonder whether you belong here and how you will perform as a student next to all these very smart people. But don't worry. Here at William and Mary, you will have every opportunity to thrive. When I was growing up in a small, segregated town of Jennings, Louisiana, going to college seemed like an impossible dream. My parents were children of sharecroppers. My father worked as a day laborer, and my mother worked as a maid. She didn't have a chance to attend school past the 5th grade, but she instilled a vital life lesson in me and my 5 sisters. Learn as much as you can, she told us. Humble words from a strong, inspiring woman. And those words echoed in my mind when I applied to William and Mary, and I can say without hesitation that this was the best decision I ever made. Had I not attended this university, I would have not been able to pursue my dream of becoming a medical doctor. I would not have established a multicultural cardiology practice, and I would not have been able to help save the lives of hundreds of people over the years. But I also would not have met my dear friend and mentor, the late Dr. Victor Liguori. He was a very popular sociology professor here who became deeply interested in the music I was writing and performing. I called the music soul folk because it was combining 2 different musical traditions, and he felt strongly that the gift I had should be shared. And he encouraged and assisted me in producing my very first folk album called Follow Me. That album, after 50 years, was discovered and reissued 2 years ago under the name of Beyond the Willow Tree, and is now being shared with music lovers around the world. And I deeply regret that Dr. Liguori did not live to witness this. The year I graduated in 1969, Dr. Liguori helped arrange a concert, Soul Folk in Our Times, right here at Phi Beta Kappa Hall. And my friend David Gapp and I played to a standing room only crowd. I also gained some performing chops by performing here on the campus, in Colonial Williamsburg, and in the Tideward area, which would come in handy. And as an artist on Capitol Records, I would appear on stages across America and in Europe. But I want to take you back to the moment, to the warm summer of 1967 when I first set foot on this campus, and tell you my William and Mary story. My story is a coming-of-age tale, but also you will see it is something of a ghost story. I arrived in Williamsburg at the Williamsburg Amtrak train station a half mile from here, lugging a small suitcase, a Bible, a notebook of folk songs I had written, and of course my guitar. Prior to this journey, I'd never stepped foot outside of the state of Louisiana. I didn't know a single person in this town, and I wasn't sure where I was going to sleep that night. But I had a hidden advantage. When I boarded the train in New Orleans, my mother called out. She said, "You'll be fine, just find the church." She knew the black church to be a vibrant support network like no other, surpassing the Masons, the Toastmasters, and any fraternity or sorority in the known world. I found that to be true. When I arrived in Williamsburg, I was taken in by the good folks at the First Baptist Church just a few blocks from here on Scotland Street. And they quickly adopted me as one of their own. The pastor there, Reverend David Collins, discovered that I was also a singer and invited me to sing spirituals before and after his Sunday sermons. When I first ventured onto the William and Mary campus, the Wren Building was the first building I saw. It is, as you know, the oldest college building still in use in the United States. So much of what happened in the early story of our nation happened in the shadows of this building and in the surrounding territory. Many times while I was a student here, when I'd finished my work, I would come and sit on these very steps and scan the immediate courtyard. And I would also look down Duke of Gloucester Street, far beyond the storefronts, the people, and the sights and sounds of cars. I was actually looking for ghosts. Ghostly presences, real or imagined, ectoplasmic or metaphorical, have been part of my life since the beginning. See, I was born with a thin membrane covering my face known as a caul or a veil. A caul, spelled C-A-U-L, is a harmless membrane and is part of the amniotic sac. The midwife or the doctor simply removes it, and there's no damage or lasting effects. But in cultures all over the world, superstitions have arisen around babies who are born with the caul. It is said to occur 1 out of 85,000 births and is traditionally associated with good luck. But however, in Louisiana folklore, the caul was not regarded as a lucky charm at all. Those who were born with the veil had the supernatural ability to see ghosts. As I grew up, my parents, aunts, uncles delighted in reminding me that I would be able to see ghosts for the rest of my life. This was not my superpower of choice. In fact, I was horrified. My grandmother seemed to know a lot about ghosts, used to try and calm my fears by telling me, she said, "You might see them in the late evenings, but you don't bother them, they won't bother you." So being haunted was my destiny, supposedly, whether I liked it or not. I grew up to be a man of science, and as a man of science, I will officially proclaim that I'd never seen a ghost. I had never seen a ghost, but my upbringing in Louisiana made me more attuned to the possibility that the spirit world did exist. So when I arrived here in Williamsburg, using my ghost whisperer skills, I discovered that Williamsburg and William and Mary were chock full of incredible, monumental, amazing historical ghosts. And suddenly I wanted to see them. So sitting on these various steps, I could imagine the sights and sounds of those who occupied this space long before I did. I could see the nation's story unfolding like a painting on a massive canvas, accompanied by an elaborate musical score. Far beyond Duke of Gloucester Street, staring into the mist of the past, I could see the ghost of Native Americans living here long before any of these buildings existed. Echoes sounded of the drums and chants of the Chickahominy, the Mattaponi, and the Pamunkey tribes as they hunted and danced on these grounds. In the far distance, I could picture the ghost of English men and boys arriving in Jamestown in 1607. 6 miles from here, where we are now, they built a fort to establish the first permanent English settlement in North America. And also from the steps of this building, I could conjure images of the White Lion, a 160-ton English privateer ship that in late August of 1619 anchored 30 miles from here at Point Comfort. The White Lion traveled up the James River carrying African men, women, and children who had been kidnapped from their villages, torn from their homelands, and sold into slavery. And I could see the ghost of my ancestors and their descendants as they labored on Virginia plantations for over 300 years. We now have a memorial at William and Mary called the Hearth to commemorate the enslaved Africans who helped build and cared for this institution of higher learning. After the American colonies declared independence from Great Britain in 1776, they fought for the freedom to create a new nation. And from these steps, I could see the ghost of British soldiers in their bright red coats marching down Duke of Gloucester Street in January 1781 during the Revolutionary War. 10 months later, the Continental Army would then march and defeat the British at Yorktown, only 11 miles from here. From my view on these steps, I can tell you that the ghost of Americans' political history still roam this courtyard where we're gathered today. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, James Monroe, and John Marshall all were students here. The actions and impacts of these great American leaders can be felt today. But it was Thomas Jefferson who wrote the phrase, "All men are created equal." These 5 words are enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Today we understand those words to mean all persons, not just men, are created equal. But not everyone in the new nation agreed on the meaning of those words, and more than 600,000 Americans would die in the Civil War from 1861 to 1865. From the steps of the Wren Building, on late evenings, I could see the ghost of Confederate soldiers marching down Duke of Gloucester, later to be replaced by victorious Union Army. Abraham Lincoln would sign the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, leading to a constitutional amendment abolishing slavery. But despite the outcome of the Civil War, the struggle for freedom and equal rights continued. 100 years later, I could hear the choir at the First Baptist Church singing, "Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday." Then I could see Dr. Martin Luther King walking up the steps when he visited First Baptist Church in 1962. And I was a student here, and I sat on those same steps at First Baptist the sad night in 1968 when Dr. King perished from an assassin's bullet. Martin Luther King had believed in the words of Thomas Jefferson and had challenged the country to live up to them. Now he had become one of the ghost monumental figures of history, one whose example I would follow for the rest of my life. Because of Dr. King's work, the Civil Rights Act would be signed in 1964, opening the door for students like me to attend William and Mary. So in the summer of 1967, a 22-year-old black kid from Jennings, Louisiana, by the name of Cleveland Francis Jr., would get off a train in Williamsburg carrying a small Bible, a guitar, a notebook of folk songs, a dream, and a letter of admission to William and Mary. It was here, inspired by all the great ghosts I just told you about, that I would continue to write my own story and dedicate my life to learning, healing, teaching, and music. I would also forever champion the principles of equality that Thomas Jefferson espoused so many years ago. You can say, I have spent my life not with a call, but with a calling. Jefferson was not a perfect person. Few of us are. But the truth embedded in that phrase, that all people should be treated equally, is a promise that we can and should embrace. The ghost insists on it. The education you will receive at William and Mary may or may not provide you with a calling, because a calling can only come from within you. Just as I did on these steps of this great building, I challenge you to find a moment to look far beyond where you are right now and allow your creative imagination to place your life and your calling within the context of history. As my grandmother said about ghosts, they can't see you, but you can see them. Among the ghosts of the past, you may be able to see that true essence of a life well lived, to give your life a personal sense of meaning, of what makes you you, why are you here? Not here in the courtyard of this grand building, but in this wonderful world of ours. The saga of America is still being written. Consider how you can add to that story and improve the lives of those who will follow. In closing, one of my mentors at Southern University, Dr. Hewell Perkins, gave me a challenge that I carried with me to William and Mary, and I will now pass it on to you. Dr. Perkins addressed a crowd gathering of new students just like this one. I know what the university brings to you, he said, but what did you bring to us? We seek to discover what you have brought to this school, whatever that might be. To answer that question, I challenge each of you to use your own talents, skills, experiences, and the things you will learn here at William and Mary to venture forward and write your own stories in art, science, law, government, business, technology, entertainment, sports, of fields and possibilities not yet imagined. And add your story as a chapter in the book still being written about yourself, about America, and about the whole human community. Good luck to each of you. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. Thank you for what you have brought to us these last 50 years and tonight. Such thoughtful and moving words. For any community, one of the best ways to forge common ground is by giving back. And so we start each year at William & Mary by honoring two individuals with the President's Award for Service to Community. Each award comes with $500 to donate to a service agency. This year's recipients are Professor Debbie Raymer and Michelle Indelicato, class of 2025. Please stand. Professor Raymer co-leads the School of Education's Literacy Lab, serving nearly 500 students last year alone. She volunteers with One Child Center for Autism and serves on the William & Mary Camp Kesem Advisory Board. She donates her award to the Griffin School Partnership Literacy Lab program. Ms. Indelicato volunteers with the Williamsburg Community Growers, Heritage Humane Society, and Grove Christian Outreach Center. As a student researcher, she brings her knowledge to bear on affordable housing, food insecurity, climate change, and African American history. She donates her award to Grove Christian Outreach Center. Congratulations, Professor Raymer and Ms. Indelicato. Okay, new students, now this is your moment. You are joining generations of William and Mary alumni who have crossed through these doors. So for new graduate students, transfers, in the class of 2028, please don the Wren Traditions pin you found on your seats when you arrived. Transfer and graduate students, I should have said that staff are waiting in the sunken garden with pins for your class years, so you have the right class years. After the alma mater, which we're about to sing, new students should wait here. The platform party will lead you through the Wren Building, and then, who knows? Everyone else, please move swiftly to the other side of the Wren to greet our new students. Choir, this is your cue. As president, I declare that William & Mary's 332nd academic year has begun.
It is, especially evil. We'll just say, oh yeah.
No, at the graduation, it's just moments people have seen this vision.
See, I like your shot. Yeah. I want to see the kids. Not that I would tell him. Like,
Look at him, bro. Look at him.
What?
Saw him at the. There's some voodoo. Oh, wait.
like, what am I going to do? I'm going to look right down the Let's go. Yes, Rod.
Are you a member of it? Are you big on like no? But if you look, he's gonna walk out of there and just like I was gonna whiten my teeth using their advice, but it's like $10. Dog, you know what you do? My teeth would the generosity of John's book.
Oh, I see him in the thing, like where it's open. I see his scratch. He's like near the
Which was the camera?
camera.
Side that doesn't